Howdy y'all, and welcome back to another moose training video. This is his second session. I decided to work with him in his small pen because I didn't really need to work on moving him around a bunch. I just mostly wanted to work on getting those face touches. I worked with this just a little bit off camera, and you can see how far he came along in just a couple minutes off camera, and then I decided I need to film this to show you guys the progress that he made with this in just a couple minutes. It really goes to show that what he was scared of before about my hand touching his face was really just the anticipation of it. You see, he picks his head up and he bobs his head nervously, but once I actually touch him, he settles into my hand so fast, puts his head down, and really enjoys his face and his head being rubbed. So all I did to achieve this was just hold my hand there while he head bobbed until he finally let me approach him and touch between his eyes. And that was all it took. Once he realized that touch didn't hurt, that was all it took to get him putting his head down practically in my lap and really enjoying this touch. Now all that's left to do here is to just repeat the process. The more times I approach his head and then the touch is okay and that's repeated, the less he's going to head bob and get nervous about my hand approaching, because he's going to start to remember each time she reached out to me, it didn't hurt. And so he'll be less nervous about that approach over time. Now I'm working around to the side of him, starting to work on getting his tag loosened up. I was really surprised by how well he took me coming around him. Now that he's okay with his head being touched and me being a little bit closer, he really didn't mind me stepping to the side and starting to work on this tag. If you watched his first video, you'll know that I touched the sides of his face and the sides of his neck with the stick, but I hadn't gotten so far with my hand yet. So this is really big for him, and I was really pleased that he just allowed me to step around, bring both hands to his face, and start to work on this tag, and we got it off fairly quickly. After I take the tag off, I always let the horses smell it. It's just kind of a little thing I do. A lot of times when it comes off of their neck, they're like, oh, what is that? That was on me for so long and now it's not anymore, and they're a little bit curious about it. He's still kind of just sniffing me as well as checking out the tag. This is the closest I've ever been to him, so he's starting to let some of his curiosity show, and that's a sign of great progress. So now that he's more comfortable with me on the sides of him, I'm going to see if I can work a little bit back towards standing by his neck and shoulder area. One thing I like to do pretty early on is to push all the mane over to the non-brand side. What I'm doing right here is just checking out this indent he has here. It's a pretty large indent. It might be a very big Prophet's thumbprint, except I can almost fit like my whole hand in there. What a Prophet's thumbprint is I forget the exact story, but there's a story behind it that Prophet marked horses, good horses, with his thumbprint. Those were the horses that he let go that returned back to him. But what it actually is in the womb, horses might rest with a leg up against their neck for an extended period of time, and that'll create like a divot in the muscle. I'm not sure if that's what he's got right there or if it's some sort of a scar, but it's either a small scarred muscle area or a large Prophet's thumbprint. Anyways, this is about as far back as I go on his body. I flipped his mane over, and when I go to the other side, what I like to do is start to train the mane to lay on that side. I don't usually do this so early, but I had a feeling he'd be good with it. This is some detangler. Actually, it's conditioner and water in a bottle. And so first what I do is I spray the air near him, and so long as he doesn't spook, I'll take it away and then try again a little bit closer, and then repeat that process until I'm actually spraying the part of his body that I want to be sprayed. So I'm not getting super close in there, but I am going to try and saturate that area with that conditioner and water because it'll make his hair a lot easier to detangle and will start to soften it and make it healthier overall and make it easier to train to lay on that side. He did really good with this. I was pretty impressed with him. Most Mustangs are a little bit spookier about this at first, but if you go slow and do it in steps, it generally goes okay. I've got my detangling brush, and I'm going to start in that area between his eyes that he's gotten fairly comfortable with, and I'm going to start small just by brushing a little bit of his forelock at a time. If he pulls his head away and starts his head bobbing routine, you see I'm just going to hold it there until he settles and is ready to come back to me. So I'm not going to take it away, but I'm not going to keep trying to brush him while he's bobbing his head around. Otherwise, he'll just be smacking his head into the brush, which we learned in his first session isn't helpful at all. So I just wait him out. He'll put his head down and he'll come to me when he's ready. He's learned that it's okay to bring his head back to me if he gets nervous. He knows that there's a relaxing spot waiting. Now you'll notice here both his ears are folded back against his head, and if you look at that you might think, oh, he looks angry, his ears are back, he looks like he's gonna do something bad. I don't necessarily think so because of the area that I'm working on. I'm working on his forelock. What a lot of horses will do if they're not sure or not comfortable entirely with this yet is they'll fold their ears back, and that's because they want them out of the way. He doesn't want me to be touching his ears just yet, but I'm not seeing any signs of aggression in him. He's not squaring up to me. He's not snorting or pawing. He doesn't have an especially tense expression. So that's how I know that the ears being back is just him getting them out of the way of the brush. Again, this is something new going on his face, and ears are especially sensitive, so he's just holding them back out of the way from me. You can see how he lowers his head here. Love that he's realized that he can lower his head and relax a little bit. It makes it easier for me to do my job, which means I'm less likely to accidentally bonk him in the face or do anything uncomfortable. I love where his brain is at in this session and how well he's figured that out. So now I'm going to come around to the side of him, starting closer to his head, and you can see already that he's pretty okay with this. I kind of figured he would be, given that he's been okay with me going around him and touching his neck and his shoulder already. I'm going to start at the ends of his mane here, get those ends detangled, and then I can work my way a little bit further up the mane as I get those ends detangled. Again, I like to have the mane super wet. You can tell it's pretty saturated with that water and that conditioner, and that's going to help me detangle without hopefully pulling out too much hair. He doesn't have any dreads, which is, if he had big mats or big dreadlocks, I'd be going in with my fingers and very carefully detangling those one by one, because I love preserving as much of the mane as possible. But he doesn't have anything super tangly. He's just kind of got some beachy waves going on. So I'm able to just go right in with the brush, start at the bottom, work my way up. Some hair is going to fall out, but generally that's dead hair that just hasn't been pulled away because no one's brushed his mane before. But this is about all we did for this session. I like spending some time grooming my newer Mustangs because it's a nice and relaxing thing to do where I'm not asking them to do too much besides stand still, and that helps develop a relationship with them. They start to relax around me the more that we do these low energy things together, and it also makes them look a lot more domestic when I can get a brush all the way through their mane and make it look all nice and soft and clean. But yeah, that's about it. I know there wasn't a lot going on in this session, but I thought it would be important to show some of the relaxed things that I do with my Mustangs to start to gain their trust some more. So let me know what you might want to be seeing out of further Moose episodes. He's had some training since this video was taken. I don't film every single one of his training sessions. So he's learned how to lead better, how to go out to the arena and be led around. We're still working on touching the whole of his body because he has a few opinions about his belly and his back legs being touched. Nothing too crazy, but maybe I can film some of that and show you guys the tools that I'm using to work on gaining his confidence with the rest of his body being touched. So let me know what you guys thought about this episode with Moose and what you might be interested in seeing with him going forwards. Again, I think he's a good prospect for the Mustang Challenge and the Mustang Classic. Whether I take him myself or I end up adopting him out to somebody who's willing to compete with him themselves, I would really love to see him compete next year in either the Challenge or the Classic. Let me know if you think he's more English type or more Western type, because I feel like he could go both ways. His conformation's overall pretty balanced, pretty strong. He does have a bit of work cut out for him. Again, he's not fully domestic yet at all, and we still have that right front hoof injury to worry about. So we'll see where things go with Moose, and I promise I'll keep you guys updated. Thank you guys for joining us in this journey. Your viewership, your subscribership means a lot to me. The money that I make from YouTube really helps because everything goes back into helping these Mustangs. That's it for now, guys. Please stay tuned for more Mustang adventures.